The chops were insane throughout this match. Steamboat countered with some chops. Flair would chop Steamboat, and Steamboat would counter with a chop that would take Flair off his feet, and Flair couldn't believe it. The end of the match comes. Flair thinks he's got Steamboat exactly where he wants him, and all of a sudden, we get a classic end to a championship match. We see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat reverse a small package, wins the NWA World Heavyweight Championship with a small package. That would never happen today. But what we saw was two phenomenal technical wrestlers. Why else wouldn't you win in such a way as a small package? When you're talking about technical wrestlers, that's how you should win, with a small package. Very, very interesting ending. Historical ending, historical match. We saw technical wrestling, no mistakes, perfection at its best by two of the greatest to have ever done it. And the crowd absolutely exploded when Steamboat got the 3 count on the Nature Boy. We see the crowd absolutely explode. It's one of wrestling's loudest reactions, especially of that era, with only 9,000 people. What we heard in that arena makes me wish that that WWE would go back to having these major pay-per-views like the WrestleMania stuff. I kind of like it in these arenas. Give me a 10, 15, 20,000 person arena. Man, that right there is where you're going to hear that pop like no other. You go out to these football stadiums, man, there's no ceiling. You don't even, Lord, we just saw the Rumble in Saudi Arabia. I don't even know if anybody was even there. These guys are doing this in front of 9,000 people, and it sounded like the entire country was cheering. To be honest with you, they might have been. This was a phenomenal match. We all know that. We've touched on that. Great match. But why does it matter? Why does this match mean so much outside of it just being a perfected technical match? What else mattered about this match? Perfect in-ring storytelling, realistic pacing. These guys, they were methodical and slow when they needed to be. They sped it up and got fast when they needed to be. They gave each other space when they needed it. They allowed the fans to absorb what just happened before moving to the next move or to get the next spot, to set up the next thing. They fought. When one would punch, the other would punch back. When one would chop, the other one would chop back. It's a fight. You're trying to win the World Heavyweight Championship. You need to make it look and feel real. And what they did was they allowed us to see what perfection really is inside of the ring. The crowd psychology was a masterclass. How they roped in with Steamboat's family, how they roped in the Chicago Bears, how they made everyone in the crowd truly believe that they hated each other, and they just felt how real it was. It was a masterclass on psychology in the ring with wrestling moves. They listened to what the crowd was doing, and the next move always gave the crowd what they wanted, or maybe what they exactly didn't want, but yet it gave them emotion and feelings. That is psychology at its best. That is professional wrestling at its best. And what we got to see, which is what we loved in the 80s, was just a clean babyface victory. The good guy prevails. That's what we all want to see. We wanted to see Hogan win. We wanted to see Ultimate Warrior win. We loved Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We loved the baby faces. And in 1989, man, that's what the crowd needed. And they got to see it with Steamboat going over on the heel of all heels. We hated the bad guys in Ric Flair. The most important thing that happened, the thing that we have to take our hats off and say thank you for is the fact that this launched what became the Steamboat Flair trilogy, or if you ask Ric Flair, the Flair Steamboat trilogy. We got to see two more matches that we're going to break down after this one that helped define once again professional wrestling and how it's supposed to be done inside the ring. Without the 1989 Chi-Town Rumble, we don't get to experience Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, one of the greatest rivalries ever in professional wrestling. Don't let that go by without, guys. I know that we have so many phenomenal rivalries in professional wrestling. We always think of Flair and Dusty. Go back and watch Flair Steamboat. When you're talking Southeast, especially, when you're talking about backwoods country boys watching wrestling like I did growing up, Flair Steamboat. That is the rivalry. Many fans and critics rank this match as maybe the greatest match ever. Launching the Flair Steamboat trilogy, where we got to see Clash of the Champions and Wrestle War 1989. This was peak NWA wrestling style, sports presentation, technical matches, realistic storytelling, and long-term booking. The match that happened on February 20th, 1989 was something that just was a brick in the foundation of what was to come. They understood that with the NWA. They understood long-term storytelling. Has a lot of influence on modern wrestling. Like I said, I'm going to go back to going through what we see with him. This man has had to have studied this match a million times. There's so much of what he does in this match, especially using the headlock and the sleeper hold like he does. You can see that in this match. What they did that night has influenced how wrestling was booked through the 90s and the Attitude Era. All those things: work rate focus, match psychology, clean finishes, and athletic pacing. What did you see throughout the 90s? That's what you saw. You saw that. It comes from that match. Comes from 1989. Just kind of about the NWA real quick. This was a transition period for the company as well, okay? They needed a Flair Steamboat match. Jim Crockett was struggling financially. What we would see soon thereafter would Turner Broadcasting would purchase the company, which became the birth of WCW. And the 1989 Chi-Town Rumble, it represents the end of an era. It represents the end of the Jim Crockett era, the end of the NWA era. This was kind of that cherry, that icing on the cake, as you would say. But it birthed what we would see throughout the 90s when it came to professional wrestling, how it was the in-ring performance, how it would look and feel.